How's it going, everybody? What's going on? So I just want to do a quick video on how to get ETrade Pro on Linux. There's not a lot of videos out there, not a lot of things online or people writing scripts or anything to get ETrade Pro to work in Linux. It's only offered in Windows and Mac. And I was using it, and it was the only program that I had left that I was using in Windows, so now I no longer have to be a dirty, filthy dual booter. I can just use ETrade Pro in Linux through Virtualbox. Many of you have heard of virtual machines. So let's get started. I am using Manjaro Linux. This is to June 9th of 2019, and this is Manjaro Linux KDE Plasma 5. I'll show you my specs here. I have a this is an AMD processor. I'm not sure if you can see that with this background. I can where is it? Current profile, appearance, transparency, where would it be? Let's see if it's here. Yes, it is. Background transparency. Let's turn that off so you can see. So this is my system here, Manjaro Linux, and 3 monitors, KDE, KWin as my compositor, my themes, my icons, and what have you as in terms of specs. Hopefully you can hear me on this mic. I haven't really tested this mic. This is the Blue Yeti microphone. I have it maxed, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, the gain is really high. I think I have it on cardioid or whatever. But anyway, let's get into it. So as I said, I am running Manjaro KDE Plasma 5, and I am running ETrade Pro. I finally got it set up, and I wanted to show you some tips if you are also trying to get it set up on your machine, and some of the things that you can do to make it work properly. First of all, I wanted to talk about I'll just do this real quick. In OBS, if you are having screen flickering issues, go here, OpenGL settings, allow flipping, uncheck that. It comes checked. When I was trying to record this just a minute ago, I was getting some screen flickerings in OBS for some reason, and it would not record properly, so that's how I fixed that. Let's talk about Virtualbox. So, well, first of all, let's close it. Let's close all this stuff, and we will just start from. I'm not a Virtualbox expert. This is the first day. In fact, like I've been using it for about an hour, if that. But if you install the latest version, I went to Average Linux User. He has a good tutorial on how to install Virtualbox. I'm not sure what flavor of Linux he installed it on, but if you get it installed according to his video, his YouTube, it will give you will basically launch into your Windows 10. You know, you have to install Windows 10. Obviously, you need a license, all that. I don't have a license just yet because I wanted to make sure it works. So you could set it up so you could put in your activation code afterwards. I won't go through all that because his tutorial is exactly what I use. But there wasn't anything online that actually showed installing ETrade Pro in Virtualbox. So that's what I'm going to do. First, I'm going to go through, I'm just going to give you some quick settings that my settings in here that I set. As you can see my display here, I'll just open up settings for my video memory, my system, and all that kind of stuff. Windows 10, blah, blah, blah. Clipboard bidirectional, drag and drop bidirectional. Had to change that. It's not a default. System, I bounced it up to 4 gigs of RAM. My boot order, blah, blah, blah. That's all the same. That's all the same. I think you have to enable EFI for Windows when you install that, because Windows uses EFI for their boot. And processors, I have 8 cores, so I applied 4 to the virtual machine or the guest machine. And I think this is default enabled, but this is for virtualization for my AMD CPUs. Display, video memory, I maxed out at 256. I'm running an older video card. It's a NVIDIA GeForce GTX 660. So I applied as much video memory as I could to it. My monitor count, I have 3 monitors, so you could apply your monitor count here. If you only have 1 or 2, you could tell it 1 or 2, and then you will have to enable 3D acceleration and enable 2D acceleration, and this is the main one here. Graphics controller. I was confused about this because there was no information, and I finally found someone. I think he was doing something else in video games or Steam or something, but this comes down as SVGA by default. I changed it to VBox VGA, and that's what works for me. So you'll have to try to see what works for you. But I could tell you, when you are using VirtualBox, you're not setting your graphics drivers in Linux. You are using the graphics drivers and the controller that is in VirtualBox, if that makes sense. So you don't have to go into your Linux machine, and download drivers and all that stuff. This is your controller here. So all this stuff is the same. Audio, you don't use any of this stuff. Shared folders, like I said, and we'll get to that when we start showing how to install ETrade Pro. So we have Windows 10, and we are going to power on our virtual machine here. This will just take a second to boot up. These will always come up. This is basically telling you about your full screen and your mouse capture and stuff like that. I have VirtualBox running on 3 monitors. And I believe, let's log in first. I believe you can set it in view. So when you set that other setting that we went through before, where I told it in the install that I wanted 3 monitors, here's where you come and you set your, this is grayed out because the machine is actually running, but if this wasn't, you could set it to your screen size as long as it's enabled. This is your screen 1, this is the main screen, and you could change these to whatever you want, but you just set you enable it, and you set your your resolution to your screens that you're using. Now you are in VirtualBox. So this is when VirtualBox launches, you can press Control F. That will give you a full screen. Now it'll basically look just like if you were in Windows. This is like you're not even in Linux at all. This is your virtual machine. Control F is how you get from your guest machine to your host machine. From full screen to where it's minimized. So in other words, if I hit Control F again, it'll basically bounce me to, now you could see my Latte dock up here. You could see basically my Linux machine over here, and you have your controls down here. But if you wanted to run full screen, you just hit Control F, and it pushes the full screen into VirtualBox. So it's basically like you're just in Windows now, okay? Even though your host machine is actually controlling the virtualization. So there is, when you get it all updated and stuff like that, you set up your Windows, you want to update and do all that, but you don't need to set your display settings or your graphics drivers and all that. Like I said, VirtualBox will do all that. When you go to ETrade Pro, you log into your account. If you try to download it online, it gives you some .ETrade Pro Java launcher or something, and it just doesn't launch. I don't know. I even installed Java on this machine because I think it does use Java, but I didn't use the Java launcher. What I did was I enabled sharing on my Windows. You could share a folder, and if you use Average Linux User's tutorial on how to install Virtualbox, he shows you how to install this folder. What I did then was I went to my account, I created this Windows test folder here, and I put the ETrade Pro installer in this folder. This is the exe file that you'll need to launch, just like you were installing any other application within Windows. So I just took this. It wouldn't install when I tried to run it from the network location. It wouldn't install, so I had to drag this to my desktop and then just installed it like a regular old application. Okay. When you finally get it installed, you launch, you log in, and then you will set your layout just like you would normally set it if you have ETrade Pro layouts already saved, or you want to export them from your Windows machine and open them up in ETrade Pro. You could totally do that. I basically had one saved, and then I launched it just like I had in Windows, but I basically resaved it as virtual workspace or something, VirtualBox workspace, so that you can, because they didn't size exactly correctly to the actual resolution of the screens, they were a little bit off. They weren't quite, I had to resize them. I had to do some other things and stuff like that. So when it finally launches, now it's not that resource intensive. Also, if you notice, and in fact I could do that. I could show you real quick if I go back to my Windows system monitor here. You can see I allocated 4 gigs of memory to the virtual machine. Here's what my total machine is running right now. I have 16 gigs installed, and I'm running about 7. So the host machine is probably, I don't know, 3.2. And then here's my CPU utilization now. Mind you, I'm connected, I'm running real time. Here's my workspace. This is just how I have it set up. Probably yours will look a lot different when you have it, when it comes down. On my other screen over here, in fact, let's do this. Let's bounce back to full screen, and we will. I don't know if I'm going to be able to grab this monitor if it's full screen, huh? Will I be able to grab this? Well, you don't really need to see. My other monitor, basically, this gives me the daily chart, or you can go to a 1 day here, and this will give you like 1 minute candles. And then if I have another screen over here that gives me my yearly, a look at yearly time frame. And then I have over here some scanners. I have largest percent stock scanners. I have my focus list for the day, and then I have all my different lists. So if you have a crypto list, or you have a marijuana list, or a shippers list, or whatever your other other, not playlists, what do they call them? Watch lists. I call them focus lists, whatever. And then I also have a scanner for new highs, things that are hitting new highs, so I can quickly see the symbol and the price and what's moving. Most of the time, I'm just using the largest percent gainers for the day on NASDAQ, and I'm looking now. Talking a little bit about trading, the reason that there are other brokers, I think that you can get Interactive Brokers, I know, has a Linux platform. Thinkorswim certainly does, and I used to use that. I cut my teeth on Thinkorswim, but now that I'm using ETrade because I'm shorting stocks, most of my strategy is short biased, and so ETrade Pro has a lot of shares to short, so that's why I use it. And I wouldn't ever advise anybody use a web-based trader. You know, the old saying, if you're web-based, you're a losing trader. ETrade is a good platform. It's you know, it's fairly, you know, intuitive. It's fairly robust. It's fairly accurate with real-time stock quotes for level 2 and showing market depth, and also giving you news. And I just like it. On my third screen, that's in fact what I have. I have level 2. I have my order entry screen. I have the news. I have web alerts. I have order status. I have my positions and that type of thing. So this is how I have it set up. You could set it up obviously any way you want once you get it loaded, but I wanted to give you a quick video and show you that it is possible to run ETrade Pro on Linux through a virtual machine. It's kind of convoluted, but it's not stock trading software, you know, depending on how many monitors you have set up and that type of thing. I don't know. Some people have, you know, some crazy setups and traders. So, but, you know, no one was really talking about, you know, trading platforms on Linux. So I kind of, you know, I run 99% of the time I'm on Linux and I use it. So for me, it just, this is what, the only real way that I found to do it. There wasn't really many other tutorials out there. I don't know if this is the first video about it, but I know certainly I couldn't find any other information about it. There was some stuff from 2016, but I could never get it to work. I never had any success getting it to work. So that's how I do it. If you have any questions, I guess just hit me up in the comments. Maybe I can help you figure some things out. But this is definitely a possibility if you are using it, and you find any tricks or tips, and maybe you could post that kind of stuff for me too, because like I said, I'm new to Virtualbox. I'm just starting to use it, but I think I got it ironed out pretty good. I'm definitely going to, you know, back test it a little bit before I start trading live on it. Make sure that it is secure and safe, and typically Linux is very safe and secure on those fronts. So that is all for this video. Like I said, if you have any questions, hit me up. Otherwise, maybe I'll catch you down the road. All right. Thanks, and have a good day.